No ideas on that?
No.
Do you remember from the Charlie Spivak band?
No, not at all.
All right, other titles here. Gotta Be This or That. I don't think that's your arrangement. Andy's Blues? Andy Gibson.
No, it's probably Gibson, yeah.
Yeah. We got all the titles covering here. I brought all the records in. Rambo wasn't yours.
No.
Mean to Me?
No.
I think Queer Street is Dickie Wells's arrangement.
No, it's Jimmy Mundy.
Jimmy Mundy? Dickie
Yes.
Wells composition, maybe?
Yeah, that's the one with the famous Shadow Wilson drum break.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Blue Skies was the one with the famous Shadow Wilson drum
No,
break.
Queer Street.
All right.
Blue Skies is Mary Lou Williams, I think.
Well, she did one for Ellington. I don't think it's the
that's
same
right, you're
arrangement.
right,
Trumpets
yes,
No
you're
End,
right.
she used to
Yeah,
call it.
No, you're right.
Something I see, just the title Green, Freddie, as in Freddie Green.
Uh-huh.
Ring a bell for you?
Maybe Freddie wrote it.
You know, he could write.
Yes, he could. He did Down for Double.
He did Down for Double, and Ernie Wilkins was here during the Freddie Green Memorial broadcast and said he arranged Corner Pocket, which
Okay.
Ernie Wilkins is always credited with doing the
Right.
arrangement. He
Yeah,
said,
right.
he said, I wrote it up for him after, I made it less sloppy.
Yeah.
But he said it's
Yeah.
Freddie's arrangement. But you wouldn't have done anything called Green?
No.
All right. So we'll skip over that. And we've done these 4 albums now. You're listening to a mess. We're here with Turk van Lake. We're going over Basie material. You didn't orchestrate. I'm going to sit right down and write myself a letter for Count Basie. So that record is out. Wiggle Woogie. They would have used the old arrangement.
That might be Dickie Wells.
I know it's an Earl Warren composition. It's probably either Buster Harding or Earl who did the score.
Then I would say Buck, because I think Buck did mainly Earl's things.
Mm-hmm. No, none of these would be yours. I think we're coming up to one of those untitled ones. I have something, let's see. Ain't But the One Son of a Gun. Bangs. That's got Joe Newman trumpet solo. Blue Lou. That's a Don Redman arrangement. I already checked that. It's Sandman is the Ed Lewis composition.
Right.
That's not Eagle Rock Special, though.
No, it isn't.
Blue Room Jump is Andy Gibson. I'm Furrer too. I think that's a Dickie Wells arrangement. I've checked that. I checked that when Dickie was still alive. The Mad Boogie, Blue Sky. You said you didn't arrange the Blue Skies for Basie. We've already done this album. Well, I Couldn't Sleep a Wink last night. I've had this feeling before, but never like this. Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. I think I asked you that already. Don't Believe Everything You Dream.
No, my only function with Basie was to write the originals of the guys in the band.
Okay, so don't do
Mostly
standards.
it was Al Killian.
Okay, no standards then. All right, so we've seen this one then. Untitled Stomp. We should give that one a listen, I guess.
All right.
Untitled Stomp. Count Basie Band.
Untitled Stomp.
Well, Untitled Stomp now doesn't have a title, but has a confirmation that it's not a Turk van Lake arrangement,
Definitely not, no.
and it does sound a little like Buck Clayton's
A little
writing.
bit, yeah. The chord changes, I thought, especially on a release on the channel part. That was one of his favorite moves. But somebody else might have picked up on that, of course.
Mm-hmm. We're talking here with Turk van Lake, and we're picking up on a lot of information, and we've just taken the liberty of going through a whole bunch of recordings and even listings of recordings, trying to track down known orchestrations by our guest, Turk van Lake. I'm looking for that little piece of paper, which I don't have. But let's jump. That's your orchestration, Al
Right.
Killian composition,
Right.
on the upbeat. Al Killian composition and your orchestration.
Right.
They were heard on those two Vetus, and those are
Correct.
your scores.
Mm-hmm.
Now, other titles you know were Playing the Field. Who
Right.
wrote that?
Al Killian.
Al Killian, and we haven't been able to track down a recorded version of that.
Dagwood.
Dagwood.
That's another Al Killian.
Al-
That came out in print, by the way, as a stock arrangement.
So the score survives, even
Yeah.
though we...
I don't have a copy, naturally.
Mhm. Dagwood radio there, and Dagwood, and then Peepin'
Over the Rail.
Peepin' Over the Rail, Joe Newman composition,
Newman.
your arrangement, also unheard.
And Eagle Rock Special. I have the score of that home,
Mm-hmm.
which I wrote in ink, by the way. Imagine I wrote a score in ink.
Ah.
That's, I really reached the peak there.
The man from Chicago used to do that, Charles Cook, Doc Cook and his Dreamland
Really?
Orchestra.
Yeah.
He was known for,
Well, Andy Gibson used to do it.
and Andy Gibson was too.
Hard.
Well, we can move on to the Georgie Auld period.
That would be the next period.
Yeah. Now, here you were not playing rhythm guitar, or you were. I know you marked my record very clearly and said it's Mike Bryan on all these records.
Right. By the time I got to Georgie's, this is Georgie's second band.
Yeah.
And by the time I got there, I started to do well writing, and I put the guitar down. And I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to play anymore. And I was, I had achieved a little bit of success for me, it was a major success to write for the Basie band alone, a lifetime reward in a sense, an ambition fulfilled, certainly, by all means, And I was a little negligent about collecting money and a little poor about that business end of it, but I was really doing what I wanted to do. And so by the time we got to the Georgie Auld things, Georgie got the band together anyhow, and he always preferred the way Mike Bryan played over me anyhow. He would tell me practically to my face. But and of course there were buddies from the Shaw band and the Gooden band. They were a little tighter, And I was surprised. Actually, I was conducting that date.
The one within the middle and cold palette?
Yeah, I conducted, I certainly conducted my things. But the rhythm section was Mike Bryan, Shadow Wilson, and Errol Garner, and Chubby Jackson.
Now, what about using Errol Garner? You would what?
That was a story all by itself.
Well, please tell
Errol
us.
had just come in town, around then, and I had written a couple of originals. You can tell I'm not a very deep writer. I don't write complicated. It's quite simple to hear it once, maybe get the chord changes right away. But saying hello to fellas as they come into the studio, and I didn't know Errol. I didn't know who he was or anything. I see him, he comes in, he sits down at the piano. I had the music very carefully placed there on this, He comes in, he looks at it, and he folds it and puts it on the side, as though he's not going to use it. And I'm watching him like a hawk. And it comes time for first take, and that music is still over on the side of the piano. And I'm kicking off, and he didn't play a note the first time down. He just listened. Second time, he came in wailing. All he had to do was hear it once. He did that through the whole date, and there were a couple of ballads on that date in which there was a modulation, and I can't think of the tune.
Sweetheart of All My Dreams?
No.
I'll Never Be the Same?
No,
I'll get the ballads with
that's me on the album, I'll Never Be the Same.
Well, the session with Errol Garner on piano is the one with Sweetheart of All My Dreams. Or Georgie Porgy.
No.
Those are the ones.
It's a vocal.
Yeah, Patty Powers, Sweetheart of All My Dreams. The first one I called.
That might be it. I don't know.
It has to be.
I don't recognize the title. Anyhow, there's a modulation on there, and he plays a beautiful line right through the modulation, comes right into the new key, and as though he wrote it.
Did what he play correspond at any time to what was written for him? Or did he...
Well, there wasn't anything written for him, just the chord changes.
Yes, just the chord change.
And then blow. He had no problems with it. But it's funny to see a guy like that come in and just do that date. It's like the stories you hear about Bird going when he did the string sessions. He just came in and one take, boom, out. Let me out of here. But Errol, he had ears, boy. What a pair of ears. It's too bad he got into that slot he got into. Although it was a good trio, but he could have done more creative work.
Had he done what?
Well, had he played originals.
Originals. He did write a lot of originals.
Well, I meant instrumental original type, not your...
Not Misty.
Not the pop things.
In other words,
which are very beautiful.
You would have said, Errol Garner, don't play Misty for me?
I don't know. No, I was thinking more of... I've seen him at a couple of sessions where he'd just start playing some blues or something. Really new things that you never heard before. I think Lionel Hampton's got some of that, by the way. Lionel used to put him in the studio occasionally,
Really?
in a rehearsal studio, where they had recording equipment, or transcription equipment, I guess you could say. And I think he used to give him a couple of dollars just to play it, and he'd record it and take it home and steal it.
Really?
I think so. I don't know.
That's amazing. But you were very impressed by Errol Garner's ear and his invention.
Yeah. Also, he used to apologize to me why he never used me on a record tape. He says, my left hand is my rhythm guitar. He always used to apologize to me about that. I said, oh, forget it. You play too good. You don't need a guitar.
That's amazing.
But he did use his left hand as a guitar, as a rhythm guitar. He told me that many times. He had a very nice conception of the keyboard. A very nice conception.
You know, it's interesting you made that point. Sammy Price used to... It'd be interesting if the two of you could have crossed paths on this particular thought wave. He said that when Errol started playing on 52nd Street, you know, Sammy Price would go up there, and he said there was something he was doing with the left hand rhythmically, which for someone like Sammy Price, a master of both the boogie-woogie and also able to play some of the stride style, he said he had something going. And he sang it to us over the air.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whatever Sammy Price was linking on to is what Errol Garner was talking about, the rhythm guitar element of his left hand.
Yeah, he used to let that left hand lag go just one shade. I don't know how. Well, it must have taken tremendous coordination. But he was feeding himself with that left hand. And that kind of playing would have killed the sound of the rhythm guitar anyhow. Too much of a clutter down there.
Mm-hmm.
It would absorb the sound away from the guitar. So he figured it. He had it figured correctly. He really did.
We're talking here about a variety of things, but concentrating on the mid-40s, a period when our guest Turk van Lake was now exclusively writing, and writing for the second Georgie All Big Band, the one that made a fairly large number of recordings for the Guild and Musicraft label in the years of 45 and 46. This brings in the fact that jazz had changed dramatically over these years, and you had been on some of these powerhouse records that had shown that a change was coming. I'm speaking, of course, of things like Strollin' with the Barnet Band. Your perspective and first-hand recollections of the musical transition that we now call bebop.
Well, I guess they go back to Nolo Studios and the Earl Hines Big Band, which had Sarah Vaughan as second pianist. There wasn't any room for... Charlie Parker was on the loose, and there wasn't any room for him on alto. So they put him on tenor. They got him a tenor, and they said, here, this is your horn. Blah, blah. So he got a job with... And I understand that Earl had to pay off the Kansas City leader.
Shane McShann.
Yeah, because Bird was into him for some money or something. And so how much do you want for Charlie Parker or something? They practically sold him like a slave. Anyhow, Dizzy was in the band. And right next door, we were in the Georgie Old Band with our rhythm section, with our Billy Exner, Bonnie Spieler rhythm section. And after rehearsal, we would stay and rehearse for about 2 hours, just the rhythm section, which was our habit. And Dizzy eventually started to come in, and he brought Bird in, and so there'd be the rhythm section and Dizzy and Bird. And this is where I learned how to play minor seventh chords in places. Play, hey man, make this over there, and just little bits of information from Dizzy, who was getting it from Monk, by the way. Most every day he was on the phone with Monk.
Really?
Yes, almost every day. Getting a harmony lesson on the phone. Because Monk was finding all kinds of crazy things.
Did you know Monk during this period?
No, I never met Monk.
Really?
Never, no.
Not even...
No.
Never heard him perform?
Oh, sure. Sure, but I never met him.
Hmm.
I wouldn't go to a person.
So what about the Dizzy Monk telephone thing? I've heard this kick around. I'm trying to figure out what's the source of this information.
Gil Noble.
Gil Fuller.
No, Gil Noble.
The newscaster?
On Channel 7, yes.
He saw Dizzy Gillespie and...
No, he had an interview with Dizzy where Dizzy says that.
I see, yes, I know that. In the 75, the program that Tommy Potter was on.
Dizzy said, Monk told him, E flat minus 7 with a flat 5. And Dizzy went home and wrote, wouldn't you? All Monk did is lay one chord on him and Dizzy wrote a tune out of it. Went home, tried it on the piano, figured it out, what to do with it.
Does the music of Woody and You and the chord that Monk said over the phone match?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because most of the time when Dizzy would speak on the same topic to me in interviews we've done here, his reference was always, and I can't call the chord, it's something using a sixth voicing in a chord that related to the way Dizzy played around midnight. And I heard that over and over again. And I know that the Gil Noble TV broadcast, and you've now pinned it down for me, Dizzy was on that show and started this other line of thinking. And I guess both stories are true, but obviously
Well, I don't know if the exact chord that I'm speaking of, if the E flat minus 7 flat 5 chord is in that tune, even, but I do know that the formation of the chord. See, the chord had a false name in the beginning. An old-time... The early harmonists didn't have the right name. They didn't have the right root, actually, to the chord. And so we had been using wrong bass lines. Monk discovered the strength of the fourth degree in the left hand by changing his chord, the name of the chord, actually. And it's made a great deal of sense. Then later on, they called it a half-diminished chord. They start to get fancy, but it's a minus 7 flat 5. Anyhow, I like to mention one thing. When Dizzy and Bird were creating, they shared. And this is something I miss a great deal. There's too much selfishness going on today. I don't see musicians sharing knowledge anymore. It's like a deep secret. It's my secret. Almost like Freddie Keppard, paranoid with somebody stealing his fingerings on the, it was a period of learning, creativity. Look what I'd found. Let's do this. And it was every day you look forward to going to hear something new or read about something new. And that's why it's a very exciting period. Very exciting. And then when they had their group on the street, that was even crazier.
You saw that band often? The Gillespie Quintet with Bird at the...
I spent all my money on 52nd Street. All my money went on 52nd Street. It's just, everybody said, well, Art Tatum was there. Everybody was, you hear a set of Dizzy and Bird, and then you go next door and hear Art Tatum and Billie Holiday will come out and sing. It's just insane.
Getting back to that earlier point, you're saying you attended rehearsals of the Earl Father Hines big band as Bird got in on tenor.
No, they were rehearsing right next door to us. We were rehearsing in Georgie Old's band. Earl Hines was rehearsing next door. After rehearsal was over, then our rhythm section would stay and rehearse a little bit, and that's when Dizzy and Bird would come in. And it was almost, certainly, both bands, we were both working for just weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, out of New York as the home base. And I remember Earl's band was making, those guys, they were making $10 more a night than we were in George's band. I could never figure that out. How could Earl Hines make, how could he pay his men $10 more than I did Georgie Auld? I didn't realize Earl Hines' stature at that time, frankly.
Right, he had a Victor recording contract at the time. The old
Well,
band.
you know, I had seen Earl Hines up the Apollo and all that, but I thought he was just another black band on the road, frankly. You know, and I knew that the money there wasn't much money around. But now that I've looked at the history of jazz, I see what a powerful figure Earl Hines was. But that went on for almost a year.
Now, back to the Georgie Auld period. Dizzy's on a couple of record dates.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, Georgie went on the street and got anybody that was available for a record date.
That informal?
I would say yes. Yeah.
Well, to me, I would say that the link is, now I'm not saying I know anything about this, I probably don't, and Dizzy didn't remember anyway, and I hope somebody asked Georgie Auld, but I didn't get a chance to. Dizzy just signed a contract with Guild.
Right.
Same label. He made his first records for Guild on February 9th. I think your first records for Guild with Auld are February 7th, and of course, the label blossoms into Musicraft, and Dizzy stays with them deep into 46.
Right.
It seems odd, you know, like I used to, I'll tell you why I'm trying to get better information. When I was growing up, everybody used to tell me, oh man, yeah, I know what the 78 sounds like, but, you know, at the session, you know, on the street, the guy took, you know, 46 choruses, you know. So finally, eventually, I started tracking down these kind of things you say, like Lionel Hampton recording Errol Garner. And I found all these recordings, the informal recordings, and nobody ever took 46 choruses. They maybe took one extra chorus, you know. So I started getting very suspect about all these sessions where somebody blew 40 choruses on Lady Be Good changes. Even now, when they play long solos now, nobody plays 40 choruses on Lady Be Good. Nobody. So all these little coincidences that I run into, you know, I really got to find out, was it really a coincidence? I mean, like Dizzy Gillespie, you know, he could have walked into Freddie Webster. It could have been Miles. It could have been Frankie Newton. I mean, this seems to me, I'm always saying maybe there's a reason. I mean, it's a pretty big deal now that Dizzy's on these records.
Oh, of course.
So it leads me to believe that maybe somebody was hoping that it would be a big deal in the production of the event, that there was more brains going on than, hey, Georgie met Dizzy 3 hours before the date.
I think it was whoever was available, the hottest players.
No, there's the hottest players. Now, there's an explanation, yeah. Okay. Well, he certainly was one of the hottest.
Don't forget, we were all taken in by this thing. There was no other way to go. As a matter of fact, I remember in Georgie's band, our drummer got sick. His name was Phil Silman. He got sick, and Howard McGee recommended Shadow. Well, when Shadow came in the band, he turned the band inside out. And when it was time for Phil Silman to come back after his illness, Georgie came over to me. He says, "What am I going to do?" He says, "I gotta keep Shadow." I said, "Look, you got to let Phil Silman go. Just tell him you got a better drummer. What else can you do?" Because Shadow hooked the whole band. I mean, you know, he gave it a brand new sound.
Was he there for more than just the record date then?
Who, Shadow?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sure.
So Shadow Wilson isn't a guest star, but Dizzy Gillespie is?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And Al Killian is there. That's your idea.
How did Killian get there? Well, Killian wrote a couple of tunes there, anyhow, I think. He wrote one of them.
Yeah, Georgie Porgy.
Georgie Porgy, yeah.
Was he a member of the band?
No. No, we only had two black players at the time, Howard McGee and Shadow.
And Howard's not on any of the records?
No, he got aced out. He wasn't around. I think he was already on the coast with Bird.
No, on the coast with Coleman Hawkins.
Okay, Coleman Hawkins, you're right. You're right, because I remember I saw Howard when I was in Boston in school. I went by to see him, and he introduced me to Hawk. That was the first time I met Hawkins.
All right. Now, Freddie Webster does appear on one of these record dates. Do you know anything about Freddie Webster you could tell us?
Not really. But he had some loyal followers.
He sure deserves them. Miles, for one. We're talking here with Turk van Lake, and this is happening live here on WKCR-FM New York, 89.9 on the dial. Turk van Lake is matching up his recollections about the assemblies of musicians under Georgie Ald's name in 1945 record dates, on which, by the way, he doesn't play guitar. Mike Bryan is the guitarist. Turk van Lake is the arranger, and in some instances also the composer and conductor.
Freddie Webster, I don't really remember too much about. I know he was a favorite of Ted Dameron. Ted Dameron liked him a great deal. Yeah. And I don't know whether he was considered a hot player or not. I think he was noted more for his ballading.
He had great sound. Dizzy's on 2 dates. That's another reason why I was asking about it. Well, I should play you some of this music. Okay. Should I play your compositions? Do you want to hear that ballad with Patty Powers and the Errol Garner modulation, or?
Yeah, let's play that modulation. It's a nice modulation. By the way, George Saravo wrote that arrangement.
Okay, the man who
yeah, the man who he's the man who nicknamed me, by the way.
Really, Turk?
Yeah. No, Van Lake.
Van Lake is your nickname. All right. Well, maybe you better address it now that we started. We should have done this 5 hours ago. The issue of your names. Van Lake is a nickname that has become a last name. Then. Yeah.
Well, like Van in Armenia. That's where it comes from. That's where my mother and father come from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, "Oh yeah, Van Lake." He just named me like that. Did you know, George? No. Yeah.
So, people would be very inaccurate to describe you as a Dutchman from Boston.
Yeah, I've been accused of that.
Right, and Turk?
Turk was, well, when we moved to Staten Island, I was the new kid on the block, and everybody's going to come out and see who's the new kid on the block. And the first question those days, as it is probably today, what are you? Yeah. I'm Armenian. Well, no one had ever heard of Armenia at that time. And so, where's that? So I'd say, well, it's right next to Turkey. Oh, you're a Turk. And I said, just to get out of jam, I'd say, yes. And that did it. And of course, you know about the genocide.
Yes.
Turks massacring the Armenians.
So
down to 500,000. It didn't make sense, the nickname. However, I have to give credit to my mother and father. They accepted it.
And that must have been incredibly difficult. I imagine that perhaps they left the country.
I remember the first time I got a phone call, and I was in bed, and my mother said, Turk is still sleeping. When she said Turk, I flipped out. But I really have to give them credit. They became Americanized. Not that they ever forgot the incident, because both of them were orphaned by the genocide. However, it worked for me as a nickname. You know, I can see guys I haven't seen in 40 years, and they will remember the nickname. It worked. Vanning Hovsepian is very tough on the phone.
It's tough on radio. I'm just going to say it's Turk van Lake radio. Okay, well, I'm going to put in the middle. I'm going to start with the Errol Garner modulation. Make sure it's the record you were speaking of, Sweetheart.
No, I Fall in Love Too Easily is the one.
I Fall in Love Too Easily.
That's the one. It just came to me.
Oh, I don't have that.
Okay, then we'll skip it.
You're right. I need to get that.
There's a male vocal on it.
You're right. Well, I'm going to start with in the middle rather than putting it in the middle. See if I can once again produce the magic of finding that 78 in a hurry.
Ooh.
I'm not sure I can do it, but I'm going to try. Mm-hmm. And then we'll come back and say goodbye. I think I should play Co-Pilot too.
Okay.
It's yours.
Yeah, my major hit.